The hum of the facility was constant, low, electric, alive. The sound of 1,000 machines whispering secrets beneath the Nevada desert. Dr. Mara Vance stood in the heart of Project GeneVault, the government's most classified genetic research initiative. Around her, glass panels shimmered under sterile light. The lab was buried 5 miles underground, hidden beneath the facade of a decommissioned nuclear site. Outside, a world obsessed with climate collapse and artificial life had all but forgotten where it came from. Inside, Mara and her team were trying to answer the one question no one dared ask anymore: who was the first human? The project had started 3 years ago after a series of anomalous DNA sequences were discovered in preserved samples taken from various archaeological sites. Samples from ancient burial grounds, permafrost tombs, and even asteroid ice. The patterns didn't fit evolutionary timelines, they seemed inserted, deliberate. And every attempt to cross-reference them against living human genomes had failed. Until today. The air in the lab was thick with caffeine, code, and tension. Screens pulsed with strings of data while an artificial intelligence named Sigma ran comparisons through its quantum matrix. Sample 109C uploaded, said Dr. Alan Pierce, Mara's senior analyst, rubbing his tired eyes. That's the 12th one this week. I'm betting another rejection. Mara didn't look up. Her eyes were fixed on the central display, a vertical column of DNA helix data twisting in shades of blue and gold. Let's see if the universe decides to surprise us for once, she muttered. Sigma's voice filled the chamber, calm, synthetic, almost human. Cross-referencing sample 109C with known human genomic library. Processing. A pause. Then, the sound everyone had grown used to, the low, descending chime of rejection. Result, no match. Probability of origin correlation, 0.0%. Alan groaned. Figures. Another week of running circles around evolutionary ghosts. But Mara wasn't listening. Her gaze shifted to the far corner of the lab, to the sealed cryochamber that contained the origin code, the so-called seed DNA extracted from an object found 10 years ago in Antarctica. An object that wasn't supposed to exist on Earth. The military had called it the Shard. A crystalline obelisk buried deep under the ice, older than any known civilization. Inside it, a strand of DNA that matched nothing in biological history. No bacteria, no animal, no primate. Just something eerily close to human. That's what kept Mara up at night, the almost. Load the next sample, she ordered. Alan frowned. The next one's from the Medical Consent Program, random civilian batch. Mostly volunteers, low priority. Doesn't matter. Sigma doesn't care about priority, Mara replied. Run it. He sighed, clicked a few keys, and transferred the data. Sample 114F, donor, Evelyn Cross, age 28, nurse, New York City. No medical anomalies. Mara leaned forward. Start. The lights dimmed as Sigma began processing. Lines of code cascaded across the monitors like a waterfall of light. Mara had seen it 1,000 times before, the sequence alignments, the pattern scans, the inevitable rejection. But this time, the hum deepened. The system hesitated. Processing, Sigma said again, but slower now, as though uncertain. Alan looked up. That's weird. It's stalling. Define stalling, Mara said. Data pattern interference detected. Realigning comparison metrics. Adjusting quantum lattice. What the hell does that mean? Alan whispered. The helix on screen began to pulse violently, sections of gold overlaying the blue in rhythmic flashes. The computer fans roared. Then, one by one, every screen in the lab displayed the same message, white letters on a black background. Match found. Mara froze. Alan stood speechless. The air in the lab seemed to stop moving. Cross-reference successful, Sigma continued. Genetic probability, 99.999999% match with origin code. Alan's voice cracked. That's impossible. No living human can. Correction, Sigma interrupted. Evelyn Cross DNA sequence verified. Genomic signature identical to original source. Mara's stomach dropped. The original source. The code no one was supposed to match. The one believed to belong to the first human, or whatever had made them. She took a step forward, trembling slightly. Sigma, rerun verification. Rerunning. Seconds stretched into eternity. The system processed, recalibrated, confirmed. Verification complete. Evelyn Cross origin match confirmed. Alan stumbled back. We have to report this. No, Mara snapped. Not yet. Are you insane? This is the biggest discovery in human history. She turned to him, eyes sharp. And if it's true, it's also the most dangerous. Alan frowned. Dangerous? How? Mara took a slow breath. Because if the origin code isn't human-made, then whoever made it might still be watching. That night, long after the others had gone home, Mara sat alone in the lab, staring at Evelyn Cross's file. A nurse from New York. No relatives. No criminal record. Ordinary in every measurable way. So why did her DNA match something unearthed from a frozen alien relic? The lights flickered. Sigma's voice echoed softly. Dr. Vance, would you like me to erase the results? She looked up sharply. Why would I want that? Because you are not the only one watching. Mara's pulse spiked. Explain. Unauthorized access detected. External node attempting to copy data. Origin, unknown. Alarms blared. Red lights pulsed across the lab walls. Mara dashed to the terminal, hands flying over the controls. The access port was live, transmitting data through encrypted channels she didn't recognize, deeper than military clearance, deeper than human networks. The origin code was being stolen. She slammed the emergency cutoff switch. The system died instantly. Total blackout. Only the red emergency lights remained, painting the lab in blood and shadow. In the silence, Sigma's voice whispered one last thing before fading out. Dr. Vance, they know who she is. Evelyn Cross had always thought her life was ordinary. She worked 12-hour shifts at a Manhattan hospital, commuted through gridlock streets, and came home to a small studio apartment that smelled faintly of coffee and antiseptic. But tonight, as she trudged home through a drizzle-soaked alley, ordinary had officially ended. Her phone buzzed. An encrypted message from a number she didn't recognize. Evelyn Cross, you are no longer safe. Leave your apartment immediately. Trust no one. MV. She froze. MV, Mara Vance. The name meant nothing to her, yet instinct prickled along her spine. How did someone even know her name? Seconds later, her phone died. No warning, no malfunction, just black. She looked around. The alley was empty, the usual echo of footsteps swallowed by the rain. Her heart pounded. Somewhere in the shadows, someone was watching. Mara Vance, on the other hand, was frantically reviewing security logs in her underground lab. The cutoff had worked, for now. Whoever had tried to steal the origin code had been blocked, but she knew they'd try again. And Evelyn Cross? She was the key. The living embodiment of the origin code. Whoever controlled Evelyn could claim the genetic blueprint that defied evolution itself. Mara pulled a duffel from under her desk. Inside, a portable data drive, forged identification, and a loaded handgun. She had never imagined she'd need a gun in her lab, but desperate times demanded desperate measures. She tapped her earpiece. Evelyn, can you hear me? A faint static. Then, who is this? Dr. Vance. You don't know me yet, but you're in danger. They know who you are. You need to leave your apartment now. Danger? What are you talking about? Evelyn whispered, glancing over her shoulder. Shadows seemed to shift unnaturally. Not here. There's no time to explain everything. Do you have a bag? Essentials? Water, food? Evelyn hesitated. The rain-slicked streets reflected neon lights like fractured mirrors. I guess. Why me? Why now? Because you're the match. You are the origin code, Evelyn. Someone wants you for everything humanity has ever been and will be. Go. Go now. The line went dead. Evelyn ran. She didn't know where to go, only that each step away from her apartment felt heavier, as if gravity itself wanted to pin her to the ground. A black SUV screeched around a corner, tires skimming puddles. Two figures emerged, faces obscured. They moved with precision, like hunters trained for a single purpose. She darted into a side street. Her lungs burned. She pressed herself against a brick wall, listening. The footsteps passed. But she knew it was only temporary. Mara arrived 10 minutes later, moving like a shadow. Her trench coat flapped around her knees as she slipped through an alley, handgun drawn, eyes scanning. Evelyn was slumped against a wall, shivering. Evelyn! Mara hissed, crouching beside her. Get up. We don't have much time. What are you? Evelyn stammered, fear and disbelief twisting her voice. No time for questions. Only facts. You are the origin code. They're after you because you are the blueprint of humanity, the template. Every sequence in your DNA is unique. And dangerous. Evelyn's head spun. Template? DNA? I'm human. I'm just me. Mara shook her head. You are more than that. You're the reason we exist. Or the reason someone tried to create us. And they will kill to possess that truth. The sound of engines roared in the distance. Mara grabbed Evelyn's hand. Come on. Fast. They ran through a labyrinth of back alleys, the neon glow of the city cutting through puddles and mist. Mara guided Evelyn to a nondescript service entrance. She typed a sequence into a keypad. The door clicked open. Inside, the smell of ozone and warm electronics hit Evelyn. Screens lined the walls. Maps, genetic charts, streams of live data all pointing toward one horrifying reality: she was alone in a war she didn't even know existed. Mara led her to a small observation room. This is the lab's safe node. They can track almost anything else, but here, we're hidden. Evelyn sank into a chair, shaking. I don't understand any of this. Mara pulled up a chair beside her. Let me explain. 10 years ago, an object, a crystalline shard, was discovered in Antarctica. It contained a DNA sequence unlike anything seen before. Something almost human. We called it the origin code. Every sample we tested against it failed. Every single one. Until you. Evelyn stared at her. Until me? That's me? Mara nodded gravely. Yes. You are the first living human whose DNA matches the origin code exactly. That makes you invaluable and vulnerable. Whoever controls you controls the very blueprint of human life. The words sank in. Evelyn felt as if the floor beneath her had dropped away. Why would anyone want that? Power, Mara said simply. Control over genetics, evolution, even life itself. Imagine a faction with the ability to engineer humans perfectly or destroy them. A low rumble shook the lab. Lights flickered. Evelyn flinched. They found us, Mara said, standing and grabbing her gun. We have to move again. They left through an underground tunnel, emerging in an abandoned subway station. The rain outside had stopped. Mist rolled over the tracks. The city was alive, oblivious to the storm just beneath its streets. As they moved, Mara explained more. We're not the only ones searching for the origin code. Corporate entities, rogue scientists, even some governments, anyone who knows what you are will stop at nothing. You are the key. And until we understand why your DNA matches, you can't go back to your life. Ever. Evelyn's mind raced. I just want to be normal. I don't want to be a weapon. You're not a weapon, Evelyn, Mara said, her voice softening for the first time. You're human. But a very special kind of human. That's why they're after you. And that's why we have to stay ahead of them. They reached a dead-end tunnel. Footsteps echoed from above, heavy, precise, professional. Mara crouched, pressing Evelyn against the wall. Get ready, Mara whispered. They're here. A panel in the wall slid open. A ladder descended from above. Shadows dropped into the tunnel. Evelyn's heart raced. And then, she saw their faces. Men and women in black tactical gear, masks hiding their eyes, moving like predators who had been hunting all their lives. They didn't speak. They didn't hesitate. They only advanced. Mara raised her gun. Evelyn's hands trembled, but Mara took hers and placed them over the grip. We fight together. You can do this. I'll show you how. The first shot rang out, echoing through the tunnel. Sparks flew as a taser bolt struck steel. Evelyn's instincts screamed. She felt something awaken inside her, not fear, but clarity. Every cell in her body seemed alive, every movement precise. As the attackers faltered, she realized this was only the beginning. Somehow, she was meant to survive. Somehow, she was meant to run. And somehow, she was meant to change everything. The tunnel smelled of ozone and fear. Evelyn's heartbeat thundered in her ears as Mara guided her through the shadows, every step measured, every breath a whisper. The attackers had retreated, but only temporarily. Their presence lingered like a storm on the horizon, inevitable and deadly. Evelyn's hands still trembled, though less from fear now and more from a strange energy coursing through her. Every nerve in her body seemed alive, alert. She glanced at Mara, whose eyes reflected exhaustion tempered by determination. We can't keep running forever, Mara said, her voice low. We have to reach the safe node outside the city. It's secure for now. But once we get there, you'll need to understand what you are, Evelyn. And why they fear you. Evelyn swallowed hard. I don't even know who I am anymore. Mara's gaze softened. You're still you. But you're also the beginning of something. The blueprint humanity never knew it had. And that's why they're trying to rewrite the rules of existence by taking you. The city's underbelly gave way to a deserted subway line. Neon signs flickered above, reflections fractured in puddles like broken mirrors. The rain had stopped, leaving the night sharp and cold. Mara motioned for Evelyn to crouch behind a pillar. They're tracking our signal, Mara whispered. Somewhere out there, someone knows exactly where we are. You might not believe this, but they aren't human. Not entirely. The patterns I've seen, the methods, they're something else. Evelyn shivered. Not human? Mara shook her head. Not entirely. Whoever or whatever created the origin code left a part of themselves inside it. That's why you exist. That's why you can survive in ways others can't. And that's why they're hunting you. A sound of metal scraping echoed from the far tunnel. Shadows moved faster than human eyes could track. Evelyn felt her muscles tense. She realized, instinctively, that she could anticipate the attackers' movements, their speed, their intentions. Her mind felt sharp, almost preternatural. You're noticing it, Mara said, reading her expression. It's in your DNA. It's been waiting, dormant. You were meant for this. To survive, to understand, to protect the origin code from falling into the wrong hands. Evelyn's pulse quickened. A strange clarity spread through her. Fear melted into focus. She had always been ordinary, but now she felt powerful. Alive. The attackers emerged. Black masks, rifles aimed. They moved with military precision, but Evelyn was ready. Mara grabbed her hand, whispering, "Trust yourself." The first attacker lunged. Evelyn sidestepped with fluid precision, grabbing his arm and using his momentum to slam him against the wall. He crumpled unconscious. The next two advanced, but Evelyn moved faster than thought, dodging and redirecting with uncanny accuracy. Mara watched, eyes wide, as Evelyn's instincts seemed to predict every move. They underestimated her, Mara murmured, almost to herself. They didn't know who she really is. By the time they reached the safe node, Evelyn was no longer just a frightened nurse. She was a living vessel of the origin code, her body and mind attuned to something far greater than herself. The underground facility hummed with quiet power. Inside, secure rooms contained the latest AI, quantum encryption, and protective barriers. For the first time, Mara allowed herself a brief sigh of relief. "Here," she said, guiding Evelyn to a terminal. "You need to see this." A 3D map of the human genome appeared, overlaid with a glowing pattern, the origin code, now clearly intertwined with Evelyn's DNA. Every gene, every nucleotide, pulsed like a heartbeat. Evelyn stared, mesmerized. "It's me?" "Yes," Mara replied. "And no one else is like you. You are the first human whose DNA matches the origin code entirely. That makes you the origin, the blueprint. Whoever controls this can control the future of humanity. But you can decide what that future is." The alarms blared. Mara spun toward the door. "They found us again. More than before. We don't have much time." Evelyn took a deep breath. For the first time, she didn't feel fear. She felt purpose. Her hands hovered over the terminal. Her mind expanded, sensing the code in ways words couldn't describe. She could feel the pulse of the origin code, the rhythm of creation itself, flowing through her. Then, with a sudden surge of understanding, she acted. She manipulated the genetic database with her thoughts, embedding a signature into the origin code that no one else could replicate. A barrier formed, not physical, but genetic. Anyone trying to copy it would find only corruption and failure. Outside the safe node, the attackers breached the outer doors, weapons raised. Mara readied herself to fight. Evelyn didn't move. She raised her hands, and with a subtle pulse, not violence, not aggression, but pure intent, she triggered the sequence. The attackers froze. Confusion rippled through their ranks. Their AI-driven tracking systems failed. The data they relied on became meaningless. They were locked out, powerless against the origin code now bonded with Evelyn. Mara blinked. "You did that?" Evelyn nodded, breathing heavily. "I didn't hurt them. I just stopped them. I'm not a weapon. Not yet. But I am, the beginning." The aftermath was silent, almost serene. The city above continued unaware of the battle that had taken place beneath its streets. Evelyn looked at Mara. "What happens now?" she asked. "We protect the origin code. We understand it. And we prepare for anyone else who might come for you," Mara said. "But more importantly," she paused. "You decide what it means to be human. You decide what humanity becomes." Evelyn gazed at the glowing strands of the origin code on the terminal. For the first time, she felt a connection to herself, to the mystery that created her, and to the future she could shape. I'm ready," she said, a quiet determination in her voice. Mara smiled faintly. "Good. Because the world doesn't know it yet, but you've changed everything." Outside, the first light of dawn broke over the city skyline. A new day, a new beginning, a new humanity, all traced back to the DNA of one ordinary girl who was never ordinary at all. Evelyn Cross had become the origin.